Well, day 2 of the NFL Scouting Combine is in the books, and today, of course, the quarterbacks took to the podium from a prospect side, but from a Bengals news side, we got a chance to speak with several assistant coaches, including offensive line coach Frank Pollock, offensive coordinator Brian Callahan, and defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Tons of things to come out of their media sessions, but here are a few highlights. We first spoke with Frank Pollock, and he answered a number of questions about his group, which has been a major storyline this offseason, with Joe Burrow being the most sacked quarterback in the regular season and in the postseason. Frank Pollock said, look, I hate all the sacks. The number is way too high. He wouldn't get into saying which positions he particularly wants to upgrade within the offensive line, but he said it needs to be better. He was very direct in saying that when looking back through all of the sacks this season, all of them bother him. So I'm sure they will address it in the offseason with Frank Pollock leading the charge. As for Brian Callahan, the main thing I took from his media availability is last year the Bengals entered the offseason wanting to become a more explosive unit. This year, the main thing that Brian Callahan said at this point, because he still hasn't gotten into much of the self-scout, is they need to be better in short yardage situations on offense. Several times throughout this season, the Bengals weren't able to get 1 yard. It happened in the Super Bowl. They needed to be better in third and short situations, and even when they were going for it on 4th and 1, there were several times they weren't even able to get a yard, and as Brian Callahan says, when you can't get a yard, it's very telling of where you're at. So look for that to be something this team addresses in the offseason. And as for Lou Anarumo on the defensive side, he said, first and foremost, it's about figuring out who we're going to have on this defensive side of the ball. The Bengals have a number of starters who are up for free agency coming up here in a couple weeks, including B.J. Hill, Larry Ogunjobi, and Eli Apple, to name a few. We'll see if the Bengals are able to re-sign all of them or if they're not able to retain any of them. Then, once they know who they're going to have on their roster, that's when they'll get into setting their draft plan and changing some things up from a scheme tweaking standpoint. But right now, it starts with the free agency process. But he did say one of the key areas this team is going to address in the next couple of weeks is the cornerback depth. They were happy with Chidobe Awuzie and what he did in his first season as cornerback number 1, but that other side, which Eli Apple filled, Trey Waynes was supposed to be the long-term answer there. Both of those are certainly question marks as of right now, so that's probably the biggest area of question and concern for this Bengals defense. Well, that's it for today's update from the NFL Combine. Be sure to check out Cincinnati.com for more from everything coaches, prospects, and everything from the Combine here in Indianapolis.